Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, go to jail, go straight to jail, do not pass go. Our towns make it onto the Monopoly Board. And art for art's sake and money for art's sake in Hull. And I'll be talking to Paul Cheeseman of the Humberside Police Tribune Trust. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Dan Kemp for the news headlines.
Hello there. Paving slabs in Grimsby town centre, dubbed crazy paving by residents, are to start being relaid from tonight. The paving at the junction of Bethlehem Street and Station Approach was criticised for its appearance after being fitted last year as part of a £6 million town centre refit. North East Lincolnshire Council say they came loose with the bad weather and will be replaced by contractors at no cost to the council. There will be full road closures from 7 p.m. tonight. A motorcycle rider and pillion passenger have been seriously injured after a road traffic collision. The incident, which happened on Kestrel Avenue in Hull during the early hours of Sunday the 8th of February, saw a white-coloured Honda motorbike leave the road. Humberside Police are appealing for anyone who saw the incident to come forward. A Lincolnshire hotel has been handed a top award. The Oaklands was one of 2 hotels from North East Lincolnshire to be nominated for the Select Lincolnshire Best Hotel, and the venue's operations director and head chef believes it's all part of a fantastic boost for the region in recent times.
It's great for the area because it just showcases that, you know, with the whole skint thing and everything else going on, that actually Grimsby's got, you know, North East Links has got something to be proud of within, you know, the Oaklands. We've got One Rosette. You know, we're pushing very much locals, you know, seasonal food, great service, and yeah, it's great for the area.
Lincolnshire businesses are being encouraged to enter the first ever Rural Business Awards. It provides the chance for the county's rural businesses to be celebrated for their sustainability and will feature 10 different awards, including for Best Renewable Energy Project and Best New Rural Startup. Closing dates for nominations is Friday, the 24th of April. Witnesses are being sought after an altercation in Grimsby, which left 2 pedestrians with minor injuries. The incident happened on Thursday, the 5th of February, on the junction of Littlefield Lane and Chantry Lane, and involved 2 pedestrians and a silver vehicle. Humberside Police are encouraging anyone with any information to come forward. And over £6,000 has been raised for Dove House Hospice. Staff from Hull and East Yorkshire Hospital's NHS Trust nominated the hospice as their charity of choice for 2014 and raising money by participating in the Jane Tomlinson 10k race in Hull and having a crazy hair day, amongst other things. The Trust now have nominated the Hull Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Charity as their charity for this year. And that's all for me for now. We'll be back with more news soon. Don't forget, if you've got any news for us, then please don't hesitate to contact us on Grimsby 01472 315561. And that's all from me.
Prepare to see an old boot, a top hat and a battleship racing round the streets of Grimsby as Monopoly comes to town. Dave Nunn took a chance on free parking.
We're all used to passing go and buying up sites such as Oxford Street and paying rent at the dreaded hotel on Mayfair. But they will soon be replaced by the likes of Grimsby Dock Tower and Freshly Place in Monopoly Grimsby Edition.
I think a particular television show and a forthcoming movie helped put Grimsby on our radar. There's been some negative press. We feel that the charm of the town is a lot better than what's being given at the moment. So for us, it's a great place to come. We came and done a reconnaissance mission, fell in love with the people, fell in love with the fish and chips, which is always great, and lots of different things related to heritage. I think it's important to recognise places throughout history of Britain that have been extremely important to the development.
Local companies love the idea and are supporting throwing their pieces onto the board.
It puts Grimsby on the map. You know, things like this is something positive to put on the map for Grimsby. The people of Grimsby are very proud of, you know, the town, of the traditions here. There's, you know, fishing heritage. There's a change in landscape. We've now got a river terminal for cars. There's the operations and maintenance for you know, offshore wind. So, you know, there's a lot of traditions with the port and the town. So, you know, it is very, very good to be part of that.
Rob relished the chance to come to Grimsby for the preliminary stages of this project and enjoyed seeing the side of the town not shown on TV.
I like Grimsby. I think it's a great place. Like I said, the fish and chips is very good, but again, that's still stereotypical. I like the people. I think the charm is there. I think people like to have a laugh. There's a certain dry humour which I also enjoy. And personally, looking around, how can I not like Grimsby? I think it's beautiful.
The landmarks that will be on the board will be voted for by the public before the end of March. Then later this year you could be charging people rent for stopping on your Dock Tower hotel.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later, I'll be rounding up the weekend's local news with Richard Morris, and Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. I'm joined by Paul Cheeseman of the Humberside Police Tribune Trust. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
Will you tell me, first of all, what is the Tribune Trust?
Well, the Tribune Trust is a partnership between the High Sheriffs of the East Riding of Yorkshire and of Lincolnshire, the business community and Humberside Police, and it was set up to help support projects that didn't really get mainstream funding that can help fight crime, disorder and make our communities safer places.
Well, let's break that down a little bit. First of all, how long has it been going?
It was set up in 2000 and it's been going ever since. I was appointed the director last year and succeeded a colleague who'd been the director since it started.
And I can understand if you're trying to eradicate crime that the police would be involved, and if you're trying to raise money to do so that local businesses would be involved. But the third part of the triangle, the High Sheriffs, that seems like a very grand and very ancient office. What are they doing?
Well, it is
wandering around with a tin star. And
well, they have a wonderful dress uniform to the High Sheriffs, if you've ever seen them. Yeah, they are an ancient office. I mean, they were set up back in the Middle Ages, and they are the Queen's representative for law and order in the counties. So each county has a High Sheriff, and whilst it's generally a ceremonial role, I mean, they were involved in executions at one time. Thankfully, we don't call them very often to do that.
Right.
They are the Queen's representative for law and order, so they do take a great interest in the work of the courts. But they also take an awful a lot of time on charitable endeavours, and really that's where ourselves and they link together.
So, I mean, we think of British sheriffs, we think of the Sheriff of Nottingham and Robin Hood and all that sort of thing, and who was the law at the time. Yeah. But we've got, in Humberside, there's a Chief Constable of the police force, there's also a Crime and Police Commissioner, and so there's a third person also who we can blame if the crime rates go up.
Oh, that's right, yes, but I don't think that, of all the parties that are involved, I think the High Sheriffs have the least to do with anything operational. They're very much I guess
an honorary.
Honorary, yeah.
Where do you raise the money? Where does the cash come from?
All the money comes from benefactors. So we have some very generous benefactors who donate privately, and that goes into a fund, which is effectively the umbrella organisation is the Tribune Trust. But we also raise money from fundraising activities. We had a very successful bicycle ride last year between Lord Yarborough's estate and Rice Hall, and we raised about £24,500 for that cycle ride, and we're going to do the same again this year in June, and that brought a great deal of sponsorship and support along. So we rely really on endeavours and people who are prepared to give.
And you've had winter grants recently, have you?
Yes, what we do is every quarter the trustees come together as a board and they determine how the grants will be given out. Now we generally give out about £60,000 a year in grants. So we've just had our awards last week.
And what sort of thing, £60,000 a year is not a vast amount of money for such a big area and an area with quite a lot of crime in it. But what do you spend it on?
Yeah, I mean, we are a relatively small funder. Remember, there are much bigger funds available. People like the Police and Crime Commission have a lot more money. But we like to fund small projects who sometimes get missed out in the mainstream funding activity. So we're giving hundreds and thousands of pounds rather than tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds out. But we're particularly attracted to small projects, new ideas, bit of innovation, particularly those that engage young people as well. So we're not really there to fund locks and bolts and alley gates and things like that. It's the sort of work that community safety partnerships do. But we will fund schemes that try and engage young people and effectively our money, seed corn funding, to get them up and running off the ground. We don't tend to repeat fund year after year.
So what do you do if you have young people who might be tempted by a life of crime? What can you provide that might offer them the straight and narrow?
Yeah, I mean, there are all sorts. I'm going to give you a really good example of one we funded. We funded a scheme in Hull that takes young people who I guess have fallen between the lines in education but want to go into a service with the military. And they run a very successful training scheme. Many of the young people who work with them and attend there every day enjoy the discipline, enjoy the training. They start to turn themselves around and eventually get a successful career in the military.
This sounds like an argument for national service here. Take
yes,
the grubby young people off the streets and stick them in a uniform and have them painting coal.
Yeah, I think military training is only for some young people. I think many young people would not be suited to the life of national service, and I think the armed forces simply wouldn't want national service. It would turn
Me Too crime, I think, actually. If people want to apply for some of this funding, how do they go about it?
It's really easy. I mean, one of the things we pride ourselves in is we don't have a complicated application form process. Simply log on to our website, www.tribunetrust.co.uk, and on there you'll find out how to apply for funding. And effectively, it's by engagement with myself as the director. I'll have a one-to-one chat with people over the telephone. Then I'll come across and speak to them. We'll sit down together and I look at what they've got, whether it fits our criteria, and then I prepare a report which goes before the trustees. So it's a relatively easy and bureaucracy-free process.
Is there any way you can measure whether or not you're successful, as it were? I mean, do any of the people you've tried to help, if they turn out to be incorrigible recidivists, then you've got a bit of a failure?
We do, yeah. It's really, really difficult sometimes to measure community projects, particularly when there's very small amounts of money involved. But we do, wherever we can, try and measure people. I mean, one of the things we do every year is to send 3 or 4 young people on the Outward Bound course, the National Outward Bound course. And that's really useful because they come back there fired up, full of enthusiasm, wanting to do better. And we can keep a good eye on that.
Classic character building, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Paul, many thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
The Farrens Gallery is one of the finest in the country, comfortably exhibiting artists from Leonardo to Hockney. The Hull Gallery is now to enjoy a £1.5 million lick of paint in advance of the City of Culture Year in 2017. James Dunn is an old master.
City of Culture 2017, Hull's chance to shine on the international stage. But to do so, they'll need to invest in their cultural centres. And last week's announcement on the government's investment in Farrens Gallery is a welcome boost.
We'll be extending the gallery. We will be able to do better temperature control, humidity control, and better lighting. And we need to do this, obviously, to attract the Turner Prize, and also international pictures and the Queen's paintings and such as that. There'll be far more confidence in sending these paintings with the gallery in first-class state, and that's what it's all about.
£1 million will be spent on a refurbishment, and £500,000 would help them stage their internationally acclaimed Turner Prize.
I think the Turner Prize will be quite an amazing thing, not just for the art gallery but for Hull itself. But it's such a prestigious award. Really, everybody's heard about it, and I think if there's one art event that's going to excite the public and start debate about art, then the Turner Prize is probably the one.
They're hoping the refurb might bring more big-name artworks to Hull, and in turn, more visitors. But it's not only the gallery that stands to benefit. It could also mean more exposure for local artists.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the collection here at the gallery is second to none. We've got a really nationally significant collection, and it includes everything from European old masters up to contemporary artworks. And it's also part of our policy both to collect and display work by local artists as well. So that's a balance that we continually strive to keep and maintain. And I think in 2017 it's very important that we celebrate the brilliant things that are here, the brilliant talent that exists in Hull and in this region, and also bring really exciting things in for people to see that they may never have had the chance to see before.
Time now for Reflections, this week with Melvin Tinker of St John Trinity in Hull.
For a start, it is true to say that an atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in God. Well, if there isn't a God, why should he get so upset? I don't believe in fairies, and I don't get terribly upset about it, and I don't spend ages ranting about it either. They simply don't exist, so I won't waste my breath. But really, what Stephen is not so much an atheist as an anti-theist. It's someone who can't even cope with the idea that there is a God, and so he says, well, let's get rid of the notion altogether. But then what he's basing his thinking on is really imagination. He'll look at various nasty pieces of things that go on in the world and say, well, God is responsible for this. But then I would want to ask Stephen, well, where do you get the idea of good from? You say certain things are wrong, but where does the notion of right or wrong appear? Surely if the whole world is just a result of one accident, there is no God, there's no purpose, there's no meaning, then suffering, however grotesque, is simply just, if you like, a fact of life. Like water is wet, red is red, and it's just one of those things you've got to put up with. So why get so angry? Why get so cross? Well, a Christian can say, well, these things ain't the way God intended them to be. And we know this not because of our imagination, but because of revelation. That 2,000 years ago, God decided to come into the world. He has made the world that's gone so badly wrong. And much of that, those things have gone wrong, by the way, human beings' fault. And when we look at this person called Jesus, we don't see this God who puts worms in people's eyes to cause pain. We see a God who touches people's eyes and enables them to see. And his followers have done the same ever since.
Now I'm joined by Richard Morris for a review of the weekend's news. Richard.
Hello, Hugh. Did you have a good weekend?
I had an excellent weekend. Thank you. How about you?
It was good. I was mostly in bed recovering from an illness, but
well,
I'll try not to cough too much.
Very glad to see you recovered.
Thank you.
What's been going on?
Well, first of all, obviously we have the fantastic news from yesterday evening at the BAFTAs, the British Academy Film and Television Awards, that Chris Hees, a local Hull man, has indeed won the best British short animation category.
Good for him.
So
excellent.
I've been reading through his bio here. I mean, he's sort of a truly sort of local lad. I mean, born in Hull. He studied media and film at York St John University, and then he's returned to Hull to set up his own video production company. His film, The Bigger Picture, won the category, and obviously, you know, he's rather pleased about that.
Well, I'm sure he is. He's extremely proud. But there is a sort of thriving local film industry around Yorkshire and Lincolnshire, isn't there?
I'd say particularly more recently we've had a lot more sort of digital media stuff that's sort of sprouted up around Lincolnshire, possibly to do with Estuary sprouting up and causing these other companies to, you know.
Modesty forbids. What was this film about? What's the film about?
The film looks at, it's animation, and it looks all about, you know what?
It's an art gallery.
It's an art gallery, and I believe it's the different relations that operate within the art gallery. I believe. I mean, I haven't actually looked at that myself, but I believe it's kind of, you know, it's kind of
an abstract film.
Yeah, it's an abstract film.
Next story.
Well, this is Twitter, Hugh. Do you know about Twitter?
Not much, no.
Apparently, libraries in Hull have suddenly discovered Twitter and realised, oh, actually, this would be quite a good way of increasing our attendance, and have started tweeting.
Really? And people who read Twitters aren't really library users.
Tweets.
I mean, tweets. Are they called tweets? I beg your pardon. They're not. But if you can't read more than 164 characters at a time,
140, even less.
140 characters, and you're not really going to be looking at a book, are you?
Well, but last year though they'd had 2,800 followers, and now they have 5,300. So they have to be doing something right. I mean, they're beating us in terms of followers. So
I'm sure that's a tremendous achievement.
So yeah, basically, you know, obviously they're really pleased about this. Obviously, with the threat of sort of library closures and that kind of thing, they're really pleased that they are able to get their message out, and that, you know, people are following them and, you know, talking to them about what's happening in their local libraries.
Absolutely,
really
well, good for them.
Staying with Twitter, there's another Twitter story.
Excellent. Very technological today.
Yes, this was the Michelin Guide in the UK. Or Michelin, if you want to be very French about it.
I do.
You were giving me a disapproving look as I said
No.
Michelin.
Really?
They apparently tweeted a picture of Hull docks yesterday with the caption, "Monaco, no, this is Hull, actually."
Really?
Which was very, and it's gained sort of, you know, momentum around the UK. People retweeted it, shared it amongst their friends, because it was a really, really beautiful image of Hull Docks. So you know, why not show it and make people think it's Monaco?
French food snobs with a comedy language regarding Hull as competing with Monaco as a place of Sybbarism and luxury.
And I mean, all kinds of people, you know, there's restaurant managers speaking in the Hull Daily Mail here, you know, and people from the Hull Bid City Centre managers and people like that. They're all saying, you know, this is such a good tweet for us because you've managed to portray Hull in, you know, Hull is a great place and you've managed to portray it in a really good light.
Three Michelin stars for Hull. One more story very quickly.
Finally, a bit of a more serious story now. There's a row over a new £300,000 footbridge in that it's not catering for the disabled. This is in Brigg railway station. They said that, you know, they were going to replace it. Obviously, for many years now, it's been a little bit run down, but it's causing more controversy than one would have originally thought. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
Over now to Dan Kemp for the sport.
Hull City held Premier League champions Manchester City to a 1-1 draw at the Etihad Stadium. The Tigers took a 35th minute lead through David Mailer and held on until added time when a fine James Milner free kick broke the Hull resolve. They remain in the relegation zone after Burnley drew with West Brom yesterday. Scunthorpe United lost 1-0 at home to Oldham Athletic. Carl Winchester scored the only goal 6 minutes from time for the away side, dropping the Iron down to 18th in League One. They now sit 5 points clear of the relegation zone. Grimsby Town also suffered defeat, 2-1 at Forest Green. Curtis Guthrie's own goal was the only highlight for the Mariners, who remain 4th and still have the insurance of being 7 points clear of 6th place Woking. Meanwhile, North Ferriby United have successfully progressed through to the FA Trophy semi-finals. They'll now play either Bath City or Dover Athletic for a place at Wembley, after winning 1-0 at home to Ebbsfleet on Saturday. In the opening weekend of Super League, Hull FC ran in 3 unanswered tries as they nilled the Huddersfield Giants 19-0. Jamie Shaw scored twice, with Fatuli Talanoa scoring the other. Elsewhere, Hull Kingston Rovers lost the first half lead against Leeds Rhinos. The Robins held an 8-point advantage at half-time, but eventually lost 30-40 despite debut tries by Terry Campese, Mitch Allgood and 2 from Albert Kelly. Another new boy, Josh Mantellato, kicked 5 penalties. Elsewhere in ice hockey, the Hull Stingrays beat the Nottingham Panthers 5-2 yesterday evening at the Hull Arena. The Rays did trail 2-1 at one stage, but 4 unanswered goals by Galbraith, Lozon, Meyer and Havato sealed the win for Hull. The Rays currently sit 7th in the Elite League standings. And please don't hesitate to get in touch with us if you've got any sports stories, and that's all from me.
Thanks very much, Dan. Just time for a couple of tweets about the Monopoly game coming to Grimsby. The Lions at the entrance of Wheelsby Woods should be in it, says Sarah Beasley. Nikki Dabble says Park Drive, People's Park area for Mayfair and Park Lane areas. If you've a story for us, please go to our Facebook or Twitter pages, details on the screen, email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tuesday, often cloudy with some cloud breaks, these mainly to the east of the Pennines, becoming mild again in the sunniest areas and a maximum temperature of 11 degrees. Large amounts of cloud on Wednesday, localised overnight frost and some sunny spells.